Thank you for joining me with this demo of World of Cans Industry Intelligence. My goal is to walk you through the entire platform and help you understand what types of tools and resources are available. Through the platform, you have three distinct sections. We have landscape. Who are the can manufacturers? Where are their factories? Who are the suppliers to the can manufacturers? And what solutions do they offer? We have learning. This is can making for non-can makers or supplier training. We also have news feed. So this is curated and filtered news that is for both suppliers and can manufacturers and always relevant to the two-piece aluminum beverage can manufacturing industry. To start, we'll go into the landscape portion of the platform. We'll start with the can manufacturers. To start, I will show you what regional maps look like. If we go to Asia Pacific, for example, we will see exactly how these maps look. So these are interactive and they show exactly the factory locations in the given region. And what I like to show is in the north of New Zealand, because many people know that New Zealand has three individual can factories. However, not many people know how incredibly close they are. And this is something that you'll find throughout the can industry is that can manufacturers are often located close to other can manufacturers. And so sales and business development professionals will use these maps for purposes of planning, whether it is strategic planning or training planning for travel. The other thing worth showing is that every single one of our locations, this is zooming into China, for example. If we click on a factory, we have found the Google Earth coordinates and locations of that specific factory for every single one of the 350 plus factories on this platform. So I'll go back to the can manufacturers and show you the second type of map that we have available, which are the new factories for the industry. And so the third way that we look at the can manufacturers is by the company themselves. And so everybody knows that 50% of the world's capacity is made up by the Ardaws, the Balls, the Crowns, and the can packs. But the second 50% of the capacity is made by independent can manufacturers who have 1 to 5 factories each. And we have profiles for every single one of these manufacturers. To demonstrate how each of the manufacturer profiles looks, I will show you Ball Corporation. And so this is what we call the manufacturer hub. And here we show the global landscape of all of their factories, including the ones that have been announced and coming soon. For example, the Ball factory in Oregon, as well as the one in North Carolina. The Google Earth coordinates are the same as in the previous maps. If we scroll down a little bit, we will also see a company newsfeed. And so we have filtered and curated, or curated and filtered all of the news for these can manufacturers. And on the Ball page, you'll obviously find only the Ball information. And so when we scroll through the news feed, you will see that we have information relevant to this industry. And if you want to learn more, you can go ahead and click on one of these links, and it will take you to the original source of information. The final thing that we want to talk about for landscape, now that we've gone through the can manufacturers, is the supplier side of things. Now, where most things on this platform are behind the user login, suppliers are one thing that you can always find on the platform. This is a resource for whoever wants to visit. You can find suppliers by searching in the search bar or by searching through the category. So when we look at the suppliers, we have a list of over 200 individual suppliers that provide products and services to can manufacturers. Up top, we see our featured company list, and below this, we see a list of over 200 suppliers. For every single one of these companies, we have a profile created on this platform. So to give you an example of a basic supplier profile, we'll click on this company right here, and this is the standard format of how companies look on the website, where we have general information up top. And then if we scroll down past the industry news, we see the products that they provide to can manufacturers. So we have physically gone through every single one of the websites of over 200 companies and curated and found the pages that relate to aluminum can manufacturing. And so, for example, this company, when we click through, we see that they provide dust collectors, industrial dust collectors for the can manufacturing process. And so we have that information for every single one of these suppliers. If we want to look at suppliers in another way, we can look at them through the category. So we've categorized every single supplier into a number of categories. So we have machinery, where we go from cupper all the way through the palletizer. And in each area, we have individual categories such as cupper, coil handling, lubricator, aluminum. There's parts and accessories, so on and so forth. We do the same thing for the inline systems, the support areas, and services as well. To give you an example of what some of the featured company profiles look like, I'll go to the washer section. And so these are our featured companies, and these are all of the companies on our platform. If we click on one of our featured companies, it will take us to their supplier hub. This is a premium supplier hub that has a lot of information. It has news about that company. It has products and services about that company. It can also have videos, case studies, and a lot of things, all again related to two-piece aluminum beverage can manufacturing. And so we got here by looking for the washer. And so if I go ahead and click on the washer, what we'll notice is that when I click here, it will take you through to the original source of information, which is their product page on the can washer. That is the landscape. So again, landscape is part private, which is the can manufacturers, and part public, which is the suppliers to the can manufacturers. The rest of the industry intelligence is all going to be behind the user login. Now we'll move to the learning portion of the platform. And as I mentioned before, this is intended to be can making for non-can makers, or another way to say this is training for suppliers. And so this is for suppliers that have new employees coming on board, or even employees that work in one area of the factory and could learn a little bit more about areas that are nearby, or areas that they're just simply interested in learning more about. From a can manufacturer perspective, this type of information is perfect for initial onboarding to give a great idea of the manufacturing process as a whole. This type of learning is also good for people at can manufacturers that don't work on the production floor. These can be people working in the office or procurement or technical centers where they're not touching the machines in factories on a daily basis. So if we look through these courses, we have something on each of the major pieces of equipment, as well as on the major areas such as can quality, tool room, conveying, etc. And each of these are going to have a similar format. And so I'll click on Body Maker just to show you how this looks and feels inside. All of these areas are going to have a e-learning course at the very top. And I'll go ahead and launch the course by clicking this button right here. When I start the course, we will notice the fully responsive interactive format, And it's important to point out that these courses are intended to be short. These are 10, 15 minutes to get through tops. And they all have a very similar format. So taking one, you will very quickly get familiar with others and how they will look and feel as well. So we always talk about where the machine is, the purpose of the machine. We give some background information on the specific machine, and then we get into the process that is done inside of that machine. For the body maker, that is the can forming process. And we have images and explanations of exactly what happens inside of the machine. The second part of all of our e-learnings is a video. And so when we click on this button here, you'll see a 3 to 5 minute video. These are live videos taken from inside of a can manufacturing plant with text on screen explaining what we are looking at. So it's a nice way to connect what we have just learned with how it feels inside of the factory. The final part of all of our e-learning is parts and terminology. These are the 5 or 10 terms that are important to know about a specific piece of equipment. This is going to allow you to speak like a can maker would, call the right things by the right name. So, for example, for the body maker, we talk about the tooling and a number of the key components. At the very end of it, we have flashcards that allow you to test your memory, make sure you indeed know the parts and terminology that you just learned. When you close the course, at the very bottom, we have additional resources. And these are 3 to 5 minute videos that allow you to learn other things about the process related to the body maker. So, for example, we have conveying always before and after the machine. And we have a number of other videos that are interesting to do a little bit of micro learning, little pieces of information that will expand your knowledge. So this is the learning piece of it. The final piece of industry intelligence is our news feed. Now, we do not create news. We do not report news. We aggregate and filter news. So we believe in the less is more approach. And what we have done is for all of the can manufacturers in the world and for over 200 suppliers to can manufacturers, we have found the sources of information for news. Now, this can be the website, this can be a blog, this can be a financial section for publicly traded companies. This can also be LinkedIn or YouTube. And what we do is we take all of that information and we filter it based on, is this about our industry? Is this about a company that we care about in our industry? And finally, and most importantly, is do we believe this is news? And is this news means to us a few things. So news is going to be business announcements, acquisitions, or starting up a new department. News is going to be capacity expansions or contractions. So a new can plant going in, or a investment into a new can line, or on the other side, perhaps a curtailment or a shutdown of a plant or the closing of an office. We also believe news is technical and product announcements from suppliers or new technical announcements from can manufacturers. Other newsworthy things could be specific sustainability topics or new people and companies. A perfect example of this is going to be a new CEO at Ball Corporation or things like that. And so in our news feed, which we have throughout the site, this is the industry-wide news feed. We see this type of format again. And if we click on any one of these pieces of information, we're going to be led through to the source of information. And so let's go ahead and pick this one, for example. This is going to be talking about an investment CanPak is making. And this piece of news happened to come from LinkedIn. So we also link to many other sources, but we're always going to link to the direct source. One other thing worth noting is that if you're not actively looking for the news feed coming to the platform, we have another option, which is to register your email address right here. And on a monthly basis, we have something that goes out called World of Cans Monthly. In this email, once a month, we give the news stories from around the industry, supplier side and can manufacturer side, all for two-piece aluminum beverage cans. So we always give you a way to stay up to date with minimal effort. So thank you for watching this demo. If you have any questions, if you're interested in access, please reach out to us and we're happy to continue the conversation. Thank you.